One of the very first new hi-fi components I made a video about was the Topping E30 DAC, a simple $130 device that impressed me thoroughly considering its budget price. At the time, Topping was mostly making DACs and headphone amps and not much else. Today they're still at it, still building DACs and headphone amps that measure extraordinarily well. They are the darling of the audio measurement crowd because Topping appears to cater to those who believe the gear with the lowest SINAD is the best, period. I'm not here to tell you distortion doesn't matter. It does, but experience has taught me that high fidelity is about more than just graphs and numbers. Some of the best sounding components I've owned, for example, tube gear, usually flunk those so-called scientific evaluations. But they make music in a way that I enjoy very much. That said, Topping hasn't let me down yet. I've had their D70S DAC in my desk system since 2021, and it stood the test of time, holding its own against newer, flashier models that have come and gone over the past few years. Since then, Topping has expanded their lineup to include other types of hi-fi components. I made a video a while back about their $800 LA90 Class AB stereo amp, a clean, uncolored piece of gear that handled my Magnepan speakers better than I expected. It wasn't a brute force kind of amp, but it did more than enough in this room, and it played music without getting in the way. Topping says they use something called discrete NFCA, nested feedback composite amplifier technology, in their amps. I'm no engineer, but the basic idea is that it uses multiple feedback loops to push distortion down even further. And of course, not everybody agrees feedback is a good thing. Some designers pride themselves in using no feedback at all, believing it preserves more of the musical truth. As for me, I know just enough to say, go ask an engineer if you want the full story. Topping's newest amplifier, the B200, takes things up a notch from the LA90. This time we're talking monoblocks. Each B200 is rated at 200 watts per channel, whether you're driving 4 ohm or 8 ohm speakers, which is unusual. Most amps make more power into lower impedances. Maybe it's a deliberate choice to keep distortion low, or maybe the external power supplies are current limited. Either way, 200 watts is plenty for most real-world systems. Since this is a monoblock design, you'll need 2 B200s for stereo. Now, why did they go that route? It's old-school, high-end thinking. Give each channel its own chassis, its own power supply, its own breathing room. That way there's no crosstalk or no shared resources, and theoretically, better sound. Physically, the B200 is typical Topping, clean, solid, and well made. The front panel has a power button and 3 small LEDs for input selection. A short press of the power button cycles through them. Around the back, you'll find 3 XLR inputs and no RCA inputs, and that's a bit of a sticking point for me. Having 3 balanced inputs is nice in theory, I guess, but without a volume control, it's not immediately obvious how useful it is. From my experience, a decent preamp between the source and the amplifier adds desirable gain, switching abilities, and can enhance the sonics. To me, going directly from a DAC or a streamer to an amplifier often sounds thin and uninvolving. The internal volume controls inside most DACs and streamers are inferior to a good preamp. I don't want to belabor this point, but most CD players and tape decks don't have volume controls either. And of course, if you use a turntable, you'll need a preamp no matter what. So while I appreciate the thought, I'm not sure I see the real world benefit of 3 XLR inputs on a power amp. The rest of the rear panel is businesslike. 1 set of speaker binding posts, a firmware USB port, a high-low gain switch, a 12-volt trigger, and a connector for the external power supply. The sides of the chassis look like heat sinks at first, but they're really just ventilation slots. The power supplies themselves are fairly large but lightweight, and happily the cords are nice and long for flexible setup. While some enthusiasts might prefer the power supply separated from the amp chassis, I still like it when everything fits neatly inside one box. Available in silver or black, the B200 looks and feels every bit as sturdy and well finished as you'd expect from Topping. These are compact amps, and I personally prefer stacking them vertically rather than setting them side by side. Hooked up to my Magnepan 1.6x loudspeakers with an Air Acoustics preamp, a Blue Sound Node, a Hollow Audio Spring 3 DAC, the B200s made a fine showing. They played loud, with clarity, and without breaking a sweat. The longer I listened, the more I enjoyed what they did with the music. Compared to the now discontinued Orchard Audio GANFET Class D monoblocks I have in-house, which cost about twice as much, the B200s come surprisingly close in overall musical enjoyment. The Orchard amps sound more neutral and unadorned, and seemingly more effortless at higher volumes though. The B200s by comparison have a slight lift in the high frequencies, just enough to make things sound a little more open or detailed, like turning up a treble tone control a couple of clicks. At $1,200 for the pair, the Topping B200s are a real achievement. A pair of high-powered, high-quality monoblocks at a lower price point. If you're piecing together a moderate system of separates, they are well worth a listen. And Topping has a pre-90 preamp at $599 that would be a natural partner for the B200s. I'll leave a link below if you want to check them out. Now, thanks for spending some time with me today. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It helps a lot. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. As always, I'll leave links below if you want to learn more about the gear we talked about. So until next time, thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy your own devices.